Hi, it's Margaret, and today is a gorgeous sunny day. But a couple of days ago, it was actually quite overcast, and the weather forecast was for some rain to come in overnight and in the late afternoon. And so it was the perfect day to get some things in the ground. I did have some plants that had been in some pots for a while, and I also wanted to transplant a few things that had been on my to-do list for a few weeks now. Originally, I was just going to come out here and just get it in the ground, get it done. But then I thought, you know what, I'm just going to grab the camera and take you along. I have a few things that I still have to get into the ground, and there are some rainy days coming up. So I thought this was going to be the perfect opportunity to get all of these odds and sods of plants that I have still in pots into the ground, as well as move a few things. Well, at least one thing anyhow. I'm looking at it right there, the wee white hydrangea, that is not doing that well in the spot that I've chosen. First things first, this guy here. This here in the pot is a Blue By You salvia, and that is what I am going to be putting in this spot. Here I have a wee white hydrangea that has been here for a couple of years, and honestly, not doing that well. The last couple of years have been pretty dry, but this year it has been pretty wet, and it's still kind of browning out there. I think it might be getting a little too much sun. So I am going to dig this guy out and put it in a slightly shadier spot. It's a part shade spot, I would say. And in its place, I am going to be putting this Blue By You salvia. So let's get going with that. So I'm going to pull away the mulch. I have a feeling the root system is not going to be that big because this plant hasn't really grown that much since I first put it in a couple of years ago. There we go. Just going to put that in the bucket like that. So before I plant the salvia, I am going to get this one in the ground. This is the area where I'm putting it, and I am putting it right there. I actually put a little stick kind of to indicate where that's going to go. And it is not a very big hydrangea, so I think that's the perfect spot. I have some lady's mantle here, I have some goat's beard there, and I have a thunderbolt box honeysuckle right in this spot here, and a hosta. That one is Rainbow's End right here. Other than those lilies, everything here is kind of low, but this will be a completely different structure than lilies. Like, it'll be more of a shrub-like structure. So let's dig a hole and get this one in the ground. Now, this here is a lavender, and this is actually one that was here when we moved in, and it tends to self-seed. In fact, this is a self-seeded seedling because this whole area that you see here used to be one ginormous lavender that was basically 3/4 of it was pretty woody. And when I eventually got around to dealing with it, I just took the whole thing out. And so I'm just gonna get rid of some of these weeds, and I don't know what I'm going to do with these lavenders here. I may just dig them up. I hate throwing things like this out, so I think I might dig them up and just kind of put them around here where the larger one is, and what happens happens. I'm not really too concerned about them. I figure either they make it or they end up in the compost. So, and there's like a teeny tiny one over here too that I'll move while I'm at it. This, I'm assuming this is probably one of the very common lavenders, maybe Hidcote or Munstead or something like that. So I should have brought a trowel. I didn't even think of that. But do I have a trowel in my cart? I do not. I should always have a trowel in my cart, come to think of it. But that's okay. I'm just gonna go over here, kind of make a little
indent here and grab these guys and put them in. Like I said, I'm not really too concerned one way or the other. Either they make it or they don't. There, that's that. I really should probably cut this back too, I'm thinking. But, maybe I will. I'll just give it a little haircut because it's a little bit unruly there. But you know what? No, I'm just going to leave it for now. This is also the perfect day to get things planted because it's beautifully overcast. So I am going to just, it's not a, uh-oh. I'm feeling rocks. Yeah, I definitely felt a rock, or there is something down there. Now, yeah, I'm going to see if I can dig that out. Not sure how big that is. It seems not to be small. You kind of have to go out little by little until you kind of feel like you've hit the edge. Oh, I may have hit the edge. Ah, here we are. Not too bad. Could be worse. I do have some organic fertilizer I'm going to put in. Okay, I'm just going to do a little handful in there. Kind of scratch that in, and then in we go like this. And we'll see how it does in this new spot. Maybe it just won't like my garden. I mean, maybe it'll always burn out and be crispy, even in this more protected shady spot. But you never know until you try. And I always like to try plants a few times. If they don't work once and there's not, whoops, I kind of smushed this guy. It'll survive. I like to try plants at least 2 or 3 times before totally giving up on them. And if there's no obvious reason why it's not doing well, I mean, I'll just take a guess and move it around. In this case, my guess is it's getting too much sun. Plus, in years past, it also didn't get enough water, so its root system probably isn't the best. Okay, so this is good to go. And now actually what I'm going to do is grab my jug of water and water this guy in, add a little bit of mulch around the base, and then we're good for this. So now we're back at the hole that we made for the salvia, and I actually think I need to make it a tiny bit bigger. This is the perfect spot for the salvia because it gets sun for, well, practically the entire day. So I'm just going to grab this and see how we're doing. Oh, it definitely needs to be a bit wider and a bit deeper. Feeling another rock. And now we see how this goes. I think that's good. So we'll just add a little bit of fertilizer. And this actually is not the box where the fertilizer came in. This is just a empty container of Mikey I had, but it's convenient to put the fertilizer in because my fertilizer comes in these huge bags and I don't want to be carrying that around. So I just dump a bunch in here and carry that around with me. And you know what I'm going to do actually? I am going to, before I put this in here, I'm going to give it a little trim because most of these flowers are actually done and a few of these leaves could definitely be trimmed off. So I'm going to do that before I put it down there. So now I'm going to just take it out of the pot. You know what? I actually see, if you can see here, two plants here. One here, one here. So what I think I'm going to do is basically cut this down the middle, and I'll kind of, I mean, you're not supposed to plant in twos, but it's my garden, so if I want to plant in twos, I will plant in twos, right? Yeah, so I think I'll just cut this down the middle, and I'll put one here and maybe one kind of off further up like that. I do have a plan for the area kind of in front. I have some calamintha that I grew from seed, and I am planning to put that kind of in front here. I think this will be beautiful behind it. So that's what I'm going to do. Now, in order to cut this apart, I could use my shovel, but I am going to grab my Hori knife, which is a new tool for me this year, and I really, really like it, especially for dividing plants. And I'm going to use that instead because it'll just give me better control. So I'm going to put this back in the pot so the roots don't dry out while I go grab my knife. Okay, so I got my knife, and let's give this one a chop. So this is, I mean, easy peasy. I'm just going to go straight down the middle here. You can see that, right? And I'm going to take my knife. It has a serrated edge along this side and then just a flat edge. I'm just going to use the serrated edge and cut it like I'm, I don't know, cutting a loaf of bread. Like that. So easy, so easy. And there we go. So here's one. This is the smaller one, so I'm going to put that one, I think, towards the back. And here is the larger one, and I'm going to put that one towards the front. Now, oh, it's perfect. Actually, I'm going to go more towards here, I think, towards this half here. I'm going to add a little bit of that fertilizer and fill this up. Now I'm just going to get this one in the ground. Now what I do, I don't have a tape measure, and quite frankly I'm too lazy to get one. So what I will do is actually measure using my fingers. I developed this kind of quick and dirty way of measuring stuff. So I know that when I go like this, between here and here, when I stretch it out like that, is about 6 inches. So if I go like this, that's 1 foot and 2 foot. So we're looking around here is about 2 foot away. But I know these actually get 18 to 24 inches. So I do want it to kind of form a cohesive kind of, it's not really a drift, it's only 2 plants, but it's a cohesive group, I guess. I want it to flow into each other. I don't want 2 distinctive plants. So instead of doing the full 24 inches, I'm going to do the 18 instead. So I'm going to go with 3 of these, which means I'm looking at this area right around here. Let's see how this is. Needs a little bit more depth. Oh yeah, that's good. Okay, so I'm gonna do a little bit of the fertilizer, put this in like that. Like that. There we go. So here is the next plant I'm going to do. Or should I say there are 3 plants in there. There are 3 different varieties of Heuchera in that one pot. And I am going to put it more or less where you see that. I am going to separate the 3 different varieties, but I'm going to keep them together in that spot because I really like how they blend so well together. One thing I am going to do is here. This is Redstart Pulmonaria. And it has these beautiful red flowers really early in the spring. And the foliage is really rather nice. It's kind of a lighter green color, a limey green. But then it starts to look like this. And I'm thinking this area is, I'll just back up here. It's right on the edge of this linden tree. And I think it might just get way too much sun for its liking. So what I'm going to do, I think, is put that Pulmonaria in between these 2 hostas. It'll provide a nice contrast in color. And as you can see when I back up here, that this is a rather shady area underneath the tree. It doesn't really get much direct sunlight, maybe a tiny bit right in the morning, but that's about it. So I'm hoping that it doesn't burn if I put it here. Okay, so we're back here. So the first thing I am going to do is actually move the Pulmonaria. And you know what? To make it easier on myself, I am going to trim back most of these leaves as well. Now, there are 3 Heucheras in here. There is Burgundy Blast, which is the purple one. There is Fall Festival, which is this one here. And this one, I believe, is Limeade. Do I have a tag for that? Yes, I do. Limeade, yes. So the green one, Limeade. So like I said, I really like the effect that this has right here, and I'm thinking it would look amazing here, but because we're putting it in the ground, I don't want to keep it all together like that. I want them to be able to each spread out. I'm not going to put them very far apart. I'm thinking maybe about 12 inches or so apart. First things first, we got to get this out of the pot. We are. And here we are. Oh, so beautiful. Okay, so now I am going to split these up. I'm going to look down here, and they're fairly easy to tell when you get something like this where to split. So I'll just do a little close-up here. So here is one kind, and here's another. And if you look down there, you can see exactly where to split them up. So I'm going to use, once again, my hori here. And because there is one right at the back, I am just going to kind of split this down the middle like this. And then I'm going to pull it apart, I think, because I don't want to dig into the one in the back. So let's just, oh my goodness, it's like butter. That was too easy, too easy. Okay, so here's one. And again, these two, I can easily see where, oh, let me get rid of these, I don't know what these are, tulips, maybe. Yeah, where the base is here, and just right in between that. Like that. Perfect. I'm going to put that green one there. I think The Burgundy one, I may put that one kind of in the middle and put this one here. Although maybe like this is better. You know what? I think I like it like this better. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so first things first, I'm going to get this one in the ground. I think this is a good spot for it. So once I get that one in the ground, I'll just measure out and put the other ones in the ground based on that. So the next one I'm going to plant is this one here, and this is the Golden Feathers Jacob's Ladder that I spoke about in my last video. So it's going to be in a nice shady spot right underneath the tree here, and in between some hostas, we have some hellebores, and over on the right hand side there is some pulmonaria there as well. So I'm going to get this guy into the ground. The Jacob's Ladder is perfect in the spot because it's a relatively low plant, and none of the other plants in this area get more than like 12, 14 inches tall either. But there's a lot of green happening in this area, and this shot of color with the very bright yellow and the variegation, I think will look amazing and kind of break up a lot of the green. Here I am actually hitting a couple of roots that I am going to be just cutting out. So let me just show you. So here, they're not big. I'd say not even half an inch. Well, maybe half an inch. There's one there and there's one there. So I am just going to cut it right there and right there just so that I can keep digging the hole. So that's basically what I cut out. Let's see how we're doing here. I think I need to dig out a tiny bit more. I actually think I think the depth might not be bad, but the width is not the best. So I think I need to cut back about an inch more off the side where those roots are. So the next one I'm going to take care of is this Stachys here, Little Lamb. I want it to kind of go in this spot, and it is going to be beside the Stachys, which are these two, but it is such a different texture and color that I actually think it'll go really well together. Now, right here, this is Stairway to Heaven, and it's the other Jacob's Ladder that I've had for a couple of years now. Now, I have another one in another spot that is doing a lot better. And I think it's doing a lot better because the other spot is much shadier. I don't know what possessed me to put it in this spot here because this really does get sun for most of the day. So what I think I'm going to do is dig this one up, move it to where the other one is. I'll just have, you know, a little grouping there for the Jacob's ladder. And then I'm going to put this one in the ground, maybe move it over just a little bit like that, I'm thinking. And I'll see how it does next year. I may end up putting something where the Jacob's ladder is next year, something that maybe gets a little bit taller to contrast with the shorter Stachys in the front here. But for now, I think I am just going to put the Stachys here, move the Jacob's ladder, and take it from there. I'm going to move the Jacob's ladder first, and I just want to show you, this is the other one that I have, and it is shaded by this spruce tree right here, and sort of by the linden as well. So what I'm thinking of doing is putting the other one kind of over there, so that essentially it forms a larger stand of the Stairway to Heaven. It's not necessarily two individual plants. Again, I'm going with the two plants, but that's okay. Oh, yeah, that's not good. Poor thing, poor thing. Oh, oh, the poor thing. Okay, hopefully it'll be okay. I'm gonna get it in the ground right now. So these don't get very big, a foot and a half wide, I believe. So I'm putting it maybe 12 inches or so behind the other one I have. And that's, I think, far enough away where they can each mature to their full size, but close enough together where they will form like one cohesive kind of plant instead of look like two plants sitting here. I don't really have to dig too deep a hole for this one. Oh, my poor baby. I might as well just go ahead and cut this right off, the stems that are broken. I'll leave as much as I can. Oh, this one's like broken all the way down. Ugh. There's not much there. I think there's a little shoot or something coming up there, so I'm going to leave that. Okay, wow. Oh, we'll have to take a look at this one next year and see how it fares. My bet is that it's going to be just fine. In fact, I think it might even be better because it's now in a nice shady spot. Oh, already hitting a rock. Oh, look at this guy. This isn't even a rock. This is like a piece of concrete or something. Oh, another piece of concrete. Sometimes that's what happens, especially when you dig near walkways, I think. Oh, I just dug up a bulb, so I'm just going to set that aside and just put it back in the hole when I put the plant in. Hopefully I'll remember. Let's see. It's down here. Oh, you know what? I think I should take it out. Oof. This one definitely needed to get into the ground. Look at that. Oh, you know what? It's perfect. I'm just going to put some of this leftover soil in here just to fill up that spot. There we go. Oh, guess what I forgot to do? Oh, I forgot to put the bulb in. Well, that's okay. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to scrape back. I knew that was going to happen. That's why I said if I remember, because I would say 50% of the time I don't. So, and I'm just going to kind of, I mean, it's not going to be overly deep, but I'm going to put it as deep as I can. And there you go. Okay, and you know what? I think that is good for today. So let me go back to the beginning and just go over everything I planted. So the first one that I put in, or transplanted actually, is this wee white hydrangea. And that one had to be dug up because number one, it was burning out where it was. I think there was too much sun, so now it's in a part shade spot. And number two, I really wanted to put the Blue Bayou salvia in the spot where it was. And here is the Blue Bayou salvia. There were actually two plants in that pot, so I just split them up and I put them here. In the front here, I am planning on putting some calamentha that I am growing from seed. It's still in my holding bed, the raised bed that's in the fenced-in area. I will probably be doing that in the next few weeks. I'm thinking a lot of those perennials need moving. But for now, that I think is looking great, and it's going to look amazing when it starts to bloom next year. Maybe if I'm lucky, I may even get a few blooms this year. And in fact, I think I might, because I do see, if I look closely here, I think that's a bud. So the next thing I did was transplanted this Redstart Pulmonaria, because just like the wee white, I think it was in a spot that received too much sun and it was burning. So now it's in a full shade spot in between some hostas and hellebore, and I think it's going to do a lot better here. The Pulmonaria was kind of right here. So a little bit further back in this spot, I divided a pot that had 3 different Heucheras in it, and I planted them kind of in a V here because I really liked how they looked in the pot all together like that. But I do want to give them some room to grow because obviously in the landscape, they will grow larger than they would in the pot. So I gave each of them about a good foot, maybe a little bit more than a foot apart there. I really love the difference in the colors of each variety. They all blend in really, really well together. I can't wait for next year because I think these will grow in really, really nicely in a nice kind of big clump here. So the next thing I did was plant this Jacob's ladder, and this is the Golden Feathers Jacob's ladder. So that is in a nice shady spot underneath the tree. You can already see that this one has kind of a mounded kind of spreading habit. And let's compare that to the other Jacob's ladder that I have, the other variegated Jacob's ladder, and see the difference between this one and the one that I already have, the Stairway to Heaven. So here is the Stairway to Heaven, and you can see it's much more of an upright habit. And the poor little guy that I transplanted, once again, it's in a shadier spot, and I think it's going to really appreciate it. This one in the front here is newly planted as well. I believe last fall, maybe this spring, I can't even remember. But anyhow, it's doing really, really well. This one was not doing so well, and unfortunately, it's doing even worse now. When I dug it up and it kind of fell and several of the branches broke off, but it should be fine for the spring. So I dug that one up, transplanted it, and then in its spot, I put the little lamb Stachys. So this should have quite a lot of space here to spread out and stretch. And I basically am done, I think, for today. Everything else will have to wait until later. There are a few other things, odds and sods, that I have to plant, but these were the main things I wanted to get into the ground, so I'm thrilled that I was able to do that. And that is it. There are still a few more things that I need to get into the ground, and I have an entire bed of perennials that I grew from seed that I have to transplant into the appropriate spots. And I'm really hoping to get that done
hopefully by the end of August. That's the plan anyhow. Anyhow, thank you so much for joining me today, and we will see you next time. Bye.